Mrs. Tonia Omolopo is an inspiring early childhood educator, author, and passionate play advocate from Nigeria, whose influence has transformed the way young learners experience education. With over a decade of hands-on experience, she has dedicated her life to nurturing the development of children through the power of play and innovative teaching strategies. Driven by a bold mission, Tonia aims to create a global movement that reforms and redefines early childhood education. Her vision is clear: to raise an army of change agents, teachers, schools, and communities who will transform education one class, one school, one state, one country, and one continent at a time. Beyond the classroom, Tonia's creativity shines through her work as a resource developer and content creator. She's the founder of Bloom and Coders, a platform offering physical and digital resources to support educators and parents in fostering holistic child development. She also shares practical, insightful educational content on an Instagram page, Miss Tonia, and YouTube channel, Bloom and Coders, inspiring a growing community of educators and caregivers.
Thank you so much. You can tell I love to dance, right? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Good morning. It's so wonderful to be here. God, this is amazing. This is amazing. They are paying attention to us now. They are paying attention to us now. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm trying my best not to do too much. I am very, very glad. So good morning, everyone. I'm Miss Tonia. You don't need to say Tonia Omolopo. Just call me Miss Tonia. That's fine. Good morning. First, I would like to sincerely appreciate the convener of the Early Years Childcare Conference, Mrs. Caroline Popola. I am so honored and humbled to be here. I see my mentors. I see Dr. Joy Issa. I see Dr. Ronke Poch. I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much for creating this platform and for inviting me to be a part of today's conversation. So if it's to talk about early years, I can be here for hours. So I've put my thoughts down so that I stick to my time. When we say we want to position early childhood education as a national priority, gatherings like this matter, because this is where before we can change practice, we have to change conversations. We have to have conversations about these things. And I am so glad to be part of this one. Are we all happy to be here? If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray. Early years is all I know. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray. If you're happy and you know and you really want to show that you're happy and you know it, shout hooray. Say Alpha Care. Say EYCC 2026. Put your hands together for yourselves one more time. So I'm here to talk about early literacy and numeracy, laying the foundation for lifelong learning. So, are my slides ready? Okay, thank you. Laying the foundation for, thank you very much. I'm such a fine girl. Look at me. All right, so let's move straight to slide 2. I don't want to take too much of our time. Slide 2, please. Thank you very much. Now, I want you to picture a 4-year-old child, all right? This child can count 1 to 1,000. You know how we do it in Nigeria? The child can count 1 to 1,000, you know, and it's very, very good for our books. As teachers, we want to put evidence down. We want mommy and daddy to come and see that their child can write 1 to 1 million. A lot of us are doing that, right? We want to show evidence. We are saying that child is so brilliant. That child is amazing. It's impressive because the parents are happy. But I want us to ask a different question. Is it useful to that child? Is it tangible? What does this child truly understand? Can the child give me 7 objects? If I tell that child, that 4-year-old, to count out 7 objects, can that child do that? Can they tell which of 2 groups has more or less? If I remove 2 objects from a set, can they tell me what has changed? If I add 2 more, can they tell me what has changed? I want you to just think about that for a minute. Because being able to say number names in a sequence is a skill, but it is not the same as understanding numbers. Let's move to slide 3. Good. Now, I think this is where we sometimes miss the bigger picture in early years. We focus so much on what children know, knowledge, and we forget to ask what they understand. We celebrate the child who knows the letters of the alphabet, the child that can count 1 to 100 or 1,000. In fact, we've had graduation ceremonies, and for most of the awards that we gave, it was mostly about the child who was best in maths, best in reading, but we forget about children who actually understand. And I'm not saying that knowledge matters. It's good to remember. It's good to be able to recall, to be able to tell you the letters of the alphabet, to do your answer my arms, and the snake is in the grass. But knowledge is not the destination. It is the starting point. Because after knowing comes another question. Do they understand it? So now they know. They know your 1 to 100. They know your 1 to 500. They can write it. They can rote count it. When you bring them out, can you count 1 to 500 for me? They can do all those things. But do they understand it? And after understanding is another thing. Can they use it? Is it tangible? So they've known, they understand. Can they use it? Can they apply it? Can they use it outside the classroom? Can they carry that learning into primary school? Because that, for me, is the purpose of early childhood education. We are not preparing children to perform what we taught them. We are preparing them to use what they know when life presents questions differently. There's something Dr. Joyisa is always saying. She's always saying that the goal at the end of the day is for the children to be useful to themselves, using that knowledge that you've taught them. And that is what a strong foundation does. It supports what comes next. Let's move to the next slide. I'm trying to hurry up, and I'm trying not to rush at the same time. Early literacy. Now, when we hear literacy, many of us immediately think of the ABCs, the jolly phonics, because I know we like jolly phonics. Where are my jolly phonics people here? The snake is in the grass. Answer my arms, right? But then, when we think of literacy, it begins with language first. Training the ears to listen. So in EYFS, we have something called communication and language. So it begins with language first, training the ears and the body to listen. It starts with communication. It starts with comprehension skills. I am very, very big on comprehension skills. So when we talk about language, it's not enough for the child to be able to say 1 to 100 or to be able to recite the alphabet. If a child can listen to what I have to say and respond and give with relevant answer, then comprehension happens. It starts with conversations, talking to the children, not talking at them, not shouting at them, speaking with them, engaging them in conversations, engaging them in stories and rhymes. I have seen a lot of early years teachers who they can't recite like 5 rhymes. If I recite some rhymes now, I'm not sure some of you would know. If I say, Miss Polly had a dolly who was, she called for the doctor to, okay, I'm a little teapot, here is my handle. Okay, let me try another one. I'm thinking. Clap for yourselves now. Thank you very much. How about stories? How often do you read stories to these children? Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, 3 Little Pigs, Hansel and Gretel. Our own traditional stories. The Tortoise and the Hare. It's not just foreign stories, our own traditional stories. How many of us even read that to our children? Now, before a child can understand a book, that child needs language with which to make sense of that book. And before many children can conventionally decode words, they have already begun noticing something powerful, that print means something. So I still remember my childhood far back to when I was 3 years, and I remember that I was drawn to letters all by myself. So nobody really, they guided me, but I was just drawn to, I would see letters. My elder sister then was writing at GCE. So I would take all those Hello. Okay, thank you very much. So when I was like 3 years, I would take my sister's past questions, and then there was this all those Hearts magazines, hints. I don't know if you remember those. I know I wasn't supposed to read them, but I would sneak them. I was just fascinated by the letters, and it was at that age, I was 3. I began to understand that print means something. In fact, before children begin reading books, they begin by reading the world around them. So I would always tell early years teachers that when I come into your class, I want to see that there's a lot of print awareness going up, that it is literacy rich. Means you've labeled your items in the classroom. We have environmental prints all around. Please, let's move to the next slide. Thank you very much. The child begins to understand that symbols and prints, they have meaning. So you can see those prints ShopRite. I remember my dad making myself and my younger sister, try to identify the cars that we see around us, the Toyota. So we're identifying them by their logos. Those were one of my introduction to prints, to understanding that every print, every logo, they have meaning. We call them environmental prints, right? And that is the foundation. Then skill teaching builds on it. Then after you've done all of this, you focused on their language skills, you've helped them develop their listening skills, they understand that prints have meaning. Then you now start to build on it. Then you now develop the awareness of sounds, the environmental sounds, knowing that the tap is running, knowing that there's a horn hooting and all that. Animal sounds, instrumental sounds, sounds that they can hear around them. And then we begin going, because decoding a word is not enough if the child has no idea what that word means. The journey is not simply from letters to words, it is from print to meaning. That is literacy. All right, let's move to the next slide. Let's talk about numeracy. So I'm not here to give you, I just want you to have a rethink of what you've been doing in your classroom, right? Now, numeracy has similar problems. Sometimes we mistake being able to say numbers for understanding numbers. But the symbol 5 means nothing to a young child until 5 has become real. So let me share a quick story. When I can't remember that class now, but I was struggling in maths in school. So my daddy went to the proprietress of the school and asked her to give me 2 weeks off school. Then I loved Chocomilo a lot. I was a sweet tooth because I was a picky eater. How many of us remember Chocomilo? I think it was about 50 kobo, 1 naira. I'm not as young as I look. Right? So then we took 2 weeks off school, and my dad had to buy, because that was what I loved to take a lot. So he got these chocomilos then, and then put them, so he would call me to the living room and sit me down and bring out the textbook and tell me, Laide, my Yoruba name is Laide, give me 5. And then I'll count out 5. This was what I could not do in school. I was failing terribly at maths. But my dad would bring the chocomilo and tell me, Laide, give me 5. Okay, add 1 more. Okay, add 2 more. When I went back to school after 2 weeks, till I left my primary school, I was always taking first position. What my dad did was make mathematics, numeracy real to me. And it's the same thing that your children need as well. So the symbol 5 is not just a number. Show me 5 fingers. Can you count out 5 stones? Can you clap 5 times? Can you jump 5 times? Give me 5 biscuits. Although children suddenly understand quantity very quickly when biscuits are involved, right? Just like what my dad did to me. The point that I'm trying to make, the point that I'm trying to make is that numbers must mean something, right? Before they can become symbols on a page. So before you bring out that worksheet, let it make sense to them, from concrete to abstract. Right. A child needs to experience quantity before we rush to representation, because the goal isn't simply for a child to recognize 5. The goal is for the child to understand the 5-ness of 5. Like I said, how many ways can you show? Please, can we move to the next slide? No, the next one after this. I don't want them to come and chase me away. So you can see what this child is doing. You can see representing numbers with different items. If you notice, I did not use foreign resources. I used the natural resources around us. Sticks, stones, bottle caps. shoes, sandals. There are different ways that your children will be able to represent numbers and understand them, right? So now it's not about understanding again, it's about reasoning. Here is where maths becomes interesting, or numeracy. Two children can arrive at the same answer in completely different ways. So there was a time I was, please let's move to the next slide. I went online to look for different ways. So I always do this where I try to study more about concepts that I'm trying to teach. And I think it was this Karen Maths, I can't remember now, but I know she's in the UK. And there was this slide that she created where they had different dots. So the question was not how many is this, it was what can you see? So you could have 3 here, and then you're asking the child what can you see? It all comes together to make 6, right? But then a child can tell you, I see 2 here, I see 1 here, I see 2 here, or I see 3 here and I see 3 here. That's the child reasoning and trying to make sense of that number. Okay, yeah. One way to see 6 or maybe 8, another way. So there are different ways to see a particular number. So this time around, it's open-ended. It is not closed-ended. You're not limiting the child's brain to what you want them to see. 5 can be 5 fingers. It can be 5 in a row. It can be horizontal. It could be vertical. It could be spread across. It could be on a dice. It could be on a 10-board frame. It could be on a Nomicon, what's it called, frame as well. So this is what it looks like. Let's move to the next slide. I'm trying to maintain that 30 minutes. Oh, hey, God. Right. So this is what it looks like. If you know me, you know that I'm an advocate for play. If you go on my Insta, I'm an advocate for play. So first thing you do is talk, play, and explore, then teach. So if you were to walk into my classroom, most of the time that my children have learned is mainly from conversations. So I don't do the regular sit down. Yes, we do circle time and all of that. But our learning happens more in the conversations that we have. So we have math talks, where we talk about, so how many biscuits did you eat yesterday? How many steps did you take up the stairs? Conversations like that. How many times did you give mommy a hug? Things like that will open their minds up to all those things. Learning happens in your role play corner. You know that shop area that you've created in your class, it is not for decoration. It's not to show the parents that, oh, look at what I have in my class. Mathematics can happen there. Literacy can happen there. Your outdoor play, math can happen there. You see those materials that you overlook, like your muffin pans. That's a very amazing tool for maths. Your ice cube trays, oh my goodness, that's another amazing tool for maths. Let your children take them outside with them. Let them try to bake all those cakes that they are trying to bake with their the counting sticks as candles. Let them do all those things. Thank you. Let's move to the last slide. Please, have I maintained my time? I'm trying, I can be here all day. At the beginning, I introduced you to a 4-year-old who could count 1 to 1,000. And I said that perhaps we need to ask a different question. Not simply, what does this child know? But what does this child understand? I want to leave you with this, I want to leave you with one more. What can this child do with what they know? What can they do with what they know? So when you've taught them your 1, 2, 3s and your ABCs, can they go outside school and apply all of these things? Have you ever experienced, let me use literacy. Have you ever experienced parents coming back to tell you that, oh, after you've taught that blending, you know when you started teaching CVC words or CVCC words, a parent coming back to tell you that, oh, he's trying to like blend words at home. Maybe I had a child who would look at maybe a Coca-Cola bottle and try to trace his hands around the letters, because we've been doing a lot of that reinforcement, introducing them to prints, not just the letters in class. Can they use these skills when they leave your classroom? Because ultimately, that is the bigger picture. The skills we build in early years, they do not end in early years. Our job is to build. We are the bricklayers. A bricklayer should not be doing the work of a carpenter. They must, every skill that we are teaching them, they must travel with them into primary school, into new problems, into unfamiliar situations, into life. Because a foundation is not valuable because of how impressive it looks on paper. It is valuable because of what it can support. So I need us to start rethinking what our early numeracy, what our end goal is. building those skills for the future, not for what they can do in the classroom, not for your worksheets, not to score points with the parents, but for what the child can use them for in the future. So we are not simply teaching children what to know today. That maths that you're looking at is just maths, it's just 1 to 100. It's not for today. That literacy that you're looking at is just, let me just teach them letter sounds. No, don't rush it. Start from the foundation. Start from language. Start from communication. Start from listening. Start from animal sounds, environmental sounds. Start from environmental prints. Prepare. Be very, very intentional. Please be very, very intentional about the skills. They are not just learning, it's not just knowledge. They should be able to understand and they should be able to apply it. Thank you very much for having me, EYCC 2026. God bless you.